What are some messed up animal facts? Story 1. A polar bear will calmly stalk up to you and start eating you alive without roaring or charging, like how you would just walk across the kitchen to pick up an apple and start eating while going about your day. No drama, no theatrics, just murder. Story 2. Tasmanian devils live in burrows. A male will break into a female's burrow and attack her. He will hold her hostage for days, biting and clawing at her, refusing to let her leave her burrow until he wears her down and she lets him mate with her. Story 3. Sand tiger sharks eat each other while still in the womb. The mama shark has, I'm not entirely sure, at least 100 eggs, and once they hatch inside her, they'll eat each other, and usually just one or two make it to even be out of the womb. Story 4. Male dolphins will kill a female dolphin's baby in order to force her to make them a kid. Female dolphins found the best possible way they could counter that. Female dolphins will mate with every male dolphin they can until they give birth. Why? Well, so all the males can go, "Oh crap, maybe that's my kid." And not only will they protect her from danger, but they'll also protect the kid. So, yeah, female dolphins get an army of bodyguards by fornicating. A lot. Meanwhile, some species of cuttlefish have been known for having weaker males actually impersonate female cuttlefish, so that the stronger males they're competing with unwittingly end up having gay sex with them, blowing their load, and then swimming away thinking, "Job well done." The weaker male is then free to mate with the female. Story 5. Saw this one in person 3 weeks ago. Foxes will abandon some of their kits if there are too many mouths to feed. One of those insanely cute, cuddly little guys was left by his family to starve. Too young to know how to hunt. Just sat there at the edge of the den, looking hopefully at every noise or disturbance. He vanished before we could get a wildlife rehabber to take him. My bet is a coyote got him. Story 6. Clownfish can change sex. A normal clownfish family is one female and a bunch of males arranged in a strict hierarchy. Only the dominant male mates with the female. If the female dies, the dominant male switches to female, and the next in line becomes the dominant male. So, if Finding Nemo was scientifically accurate, what should have happened after the mom got eaten was dad should have switched to mom and then had sex with Nemo. Story 7. There's something called a tarantula hawk, and it's neither a tarantula nor a hawk, but a wasp, and it has the most painful sting of any insect. The name tarantula hawk is not a stoned dude meme-style nickname based on it being a flying tarantula, but is derived from it preying on tarantulas. The reason it preys on tarantulas is to use them as incubators for its eggs. It stings the tarantula between the legs, drags it into a burrow, lays an egg on it, and then covers the burrow. The larva hatches and burrows into the tarantula's abdomen, where it begins feeding. It's careful to avoid internal organs so as to keep the tarantula alive as long as possible. Eventually, it emerges as a developed enough wasp and bids the tarantula adieu. My 7-year-old told me about the tarantula hawk this morning in the car line. Fortunately, I don't believe she learned the part about the wasp larva daycare. Although it is reported to be immensely painful, it doesn't often prove very dangerous to humans beyond that. I vaguely remember watching a documentary about them, and when asked what to do in the event a tarantula hawk stings you, the guy said, "Lie down and start screaming." Story 8. Dogs will literally stare directly into your eyes while doing nothing else, just to show you how much affection they feel for you. Had a staring contest with my dog just an hour ago. Lasted for around 45 minutes. Then he had to go to the bathroom. Story 9. If we don't change in 50 years, the Amazon will no longer be capable of supporting a jungle, and the entire thing will disappear. I'll repeat that. The entire Amazon jungle will disappear in our lifetime if we stay the course of warming the planet. Oh, and a bunch of animals will also die because of it. Story 10. Because of cohesion tension between water molecules, why they stay together, small insects can get sucked into water droplets and drown because they are unable to push their way out. We are okay because we are stronger than the bonds surrounding a given part of our surface, but they aren't. Just think if that was you, how you would be. Walking home casually, just doing a nice bit of shopping, on your way home with your loved one for a nice movie night in. You only went shopping for snacks and movies. When boom, a rain droplet lands on you. You start struggling, but you can't break free. They start screaming for help and are pulled back and restrained by strangers right as she was about to jump in and help, because they know what she does. There is no saving you. So, as you lose oxygen and your brain begins to shut down, all you can see is her blurred by the moving water, crying now on the floor, unable to look at you in your final moments. You, of course, understand and calmly accept your fate. So, yeah. Water. Story 11. Male garter snakes produce both male and female pheromones. They use this to trick other males into mating with them at the end of the hibernation season, thus enabling them to steal the heat from the other snake and get an energy boost. Story 12. Coconut crabs are basically mindless zombies that will hunt down any smell of blood or food within miles. They won't stop. They say Amelia Earhart crash landed on Howland Island, possibly, which is littered with coconut crabs. It's speculated she was killed by them, along with possible injuries, with crabs surrounding her in the hundreds. A gruesome death to be torn apart by those things. They are the largest invertebrates and would be larger with more oxygen in the air. Story 13. Neanderthals actually were smarter than we thought. It's been discovered that they buried their own kind, made jewelry, and even made instruments. They could have been smarter than we are today if they would have had the life expectancy that we do. Story 14. The whirligig beetles are wary and fast with an organ to detect the ripples. The arachnid moths lay their eggs inside other insects along the borders of fields or roads in clusters of white cocoons. The ribbed pine borer is a long-horned beetle whose antennae are half the length of their body, and they feed on dead red pine. Robber flies, with their immobile heads, inject a paralyzing fluid into their prey that they snatch from life in midair. The snow flea's mode of locomotion, strange and odd, with a spiny tail mechanism with hooks and a protracted tube from the abdomen to ensure moisture absorption. The female praying mantis devours the male while they are mating. The male sometimes continues copulating even after the female has bitten off his head and part of his upper torso. Every night, wasps bite into the stem of a plant, lock their mandibles into position, stretch out at right angles to the stem, and, with legs dangling, they fall asleep. If one places a minute amount of liquor on a scorpion, it will instantly go mad and sting itself to death. The bombardier beetle, when disturbed, defends itself by emitting a series of explosions, sometimes setting off 4 or 5 reports in succession. The noises sound like miniature popgun blasts and are accompanied by a cloud of reddish-colored, vile-smelling fluid. It is commonly known that ants keep slaves. Certain species, the so-called sanguinary ants in particular, will raid the nests of other ant tribes and kill the queen, and then kidnap many of the workers. The workers are brought back to the captor's hive where they are coerced into performing menial tasks. And as we discussed last semester, the army ants will leave nothing but your bones. Perhaps you've encountered some of these insects in your communities, displaying both their predatory and defense characteristics, while embedded within the walls of flesh and passing for what is most commonly recognized as human. Story 15. As much as people complain about the rat race, neurotypical humans actually enjoy day-to-day petty competition to get ahead, and that's why they engage in it so often, even when it's to the detriment of society. The best part is, they don't even realize it. It's so base, they might even try to tell me reasons for it in the ensuing comments. As a person on the spectrum, it's wildly obvious that it's animalistic and instinctual. Why? Because I can't truly unconsciously compete, purely because I don't understand the motivation. So instead, I study you all and try to survive in the game, even though it makes zero sense to me. What's the end game? Dominating? And if you can't, then is it being subservient to those who dominate this weird animalistic game in order to not be prey and hopefully be protected? It makes no sense. I only engage so I can pay rent and eat. The way we compete versus working together for the betterment of everyone is the most fucked up animal fact. Story 16. The giant tortoise didn't have an official taxonomical classification or scientific name for more than 300 years after discovery. The reason was because, in order to receive a name, a live specimen had to be delivered to the British group, whatever the precursor to the ZSL was, to be examined and named. The living giant tortoises, which were meant to be taken back to London, were eaten because apparently they are more delicious than any other food. Literally every single person who wrote about them said the exact same thing, which is that they are better than any other food they've ever eaten, including caviar, pate, roast duck, pheasant, etc. Darwin himself wrote some on the subject, but a U.S. Navy captain named David Porter said that, I paraphrase, after eating Galapagos tortoise, all other food tasted bland. Story 17. Cats will try to fall feet first if dropped from under 7 stories, but at 7 stories or higher, the cat will spread its legs out to act as a parachute and land belly first. This is because, after 7 stories high, the cat will have time to reach its terminal velocity, so increasing air drag matters more than cushioning the fall at that point. This theoretically means that a cat who fell from the top of the Empire State Building would have roughly the same injuries as a cat who fell from the 7th story. Story 18. If an octopus loses a tentacle, that tentacle will stay alive for a while and even try to hunt. When it finds food, it will try to pass it up to its non-existent mouth. Another one about cephalopod eating mishaps is that squids can get brain damage if they eat something too big. Their brains are donut-shaped and are wrapped around their esophagus. When a whale beaches itself and dies, it's very important to cut holes in it, because if enough gases build up from decomposition, the entire whale will explode, showering the area with rotten meat. One time in Oregon, some absolute geniuses tried to avoid such an explosion by, and I swear this is true, blowing it up with dynamite. The resulting explosion showered an even larger area with rotten meat than it would have if it exploded naturally. Some chunks flew a quarter mile. Some hawks in Australia have learned to hunt using fire. If they find a fire, they will pick up a burning stick, fly it somewhere else, drop it, wait for it to start a brush fire, and then catch the fleeing animals. There is a species of newt which can force its ribs out through its skin to scare off predators. You've probably seen videos of ant swarms walking in circles. These are army ants, which are blind and rely on chemical signals from the ants in front of them in order to know where they're going and stay together with the group. Sometimes that results in a kind of feedback loop, where each ant follows the one in front of it, which is following the one in front of it, and so on, until it comes back around to the first ant. So they all just follow each other in a circle, until the entire swarm starves to death. Story 19. If you consider humans to be animals, here's some facts about us and other primates too. The larger the testicles are in relation to body size in male mammals positively correlates to mating practices. The smaller they are, the more monogamous they are, and the larger they are, the more polygamous they are. Humans are ranked amongst the highest in primates, somewhere between monogamous and polygamous, leaning more towards polygamous. Story 20. Well, in 5th grade, I found out that female ferrets can actually die from not mating. According to our Lord and Savior Google, once they go into heat, they stay that way indefinitely until they breed. Over time, prolonged high doses of estrogen lead to aplastic anemia, a serious condition that can lead to death. Luckily, a veterinarian can help bring a ferret out of heat if breeding doesn't happen. Story 21. Domestic cats are hugely responsible for the direct extinction of at least 63 species, both due to outright hunting, they hunt for fun, not food, and toxoplasmosis, causes large hooved animals to miscarry. Barn cats aren't actually useful. They tend to be poor pest control, and can cause farm animals like cattle to miscarry by passing toxoplasmosis around. Cats with unsupervised outdoor activity, including indoor-outdoor cats alike, results in cats living far shorter lifespans. They often die painfully, via cars, cruel humans, local predators, and disease. Your country is not exempt. This includes you, United Kingdom. You have cars and cruel humans and local predators and disease. The UK had so many cats dying one year from predators and cars that they thought a cat serial killer was on the loose. In the vulture culture bone collection community, domestic cats are one of the most common finds. It's considered polite to try and find the owner before processing the carcass. Cats can live fully enriched lives indoors, but people are too lazy to do so and get angry when you point out that cats shouldn't free roam. Enriching a cat indoors involves toys, cat trees, and interaction with your cat. They aren't just an aloof roommate, usually, so play with your pet. If you need your cat to have outdoor time, consider a catio or harness training your cat. Oh, and bells on collars don't prevent cats from hunting and killing. They can move without ringing the bell, so it makes no difference. Story 22. With many species, the female consumes the male after mating. Gives a whole new and f***ed up meaning to the term dinner date. My number one animal peeve is that octopi moms die sooner after their eggs hatch. These are super sentient, super intelligent creatures with incredible potential to contribute to the tree of life. If I was Elon Musk, I would pay to investigate the octopus genome, with the goal of modifying their genes to increase their far too short lifespan and making them capable of surviving reproduction and egg hatching. Then, they could take their rightful place next to man. Story 23. Komodo dragons are not actually venomous as commonly thought. Their teeth are, however, rather sharp and will grind up some flesh, leaving ragged wounds behind. In that, their saliva, which is teeming with all sorts of neurotoxin-emitting bacteria, get in the wound, leading to paralytic infections. Story 24. Giraffes are herbivores, and generally pretty chill and pleasant animals, as long as they don't feel threatened. Despite this, they will occasionally find small animals, stomp them to death, and eat them. They do this for the calcium and phosphorus in the bones. Admittedly, in the wild, they can usually get these by eating the bones of leftover carcasses from a predator's kill. But sometimes they take a more active role in acquiring that sweet, sweet bone. Story 25. Some animals have used stupidity as an evolutionary tool. Koalas are stupid as and basically, that's their whole shtick. They are bad at digesting their only food they eat, eucalyptus, which isn't that nutritious at all. Babies have to eat their mom's to be able to get the necessary microbes to digest their food, only to get completely stoned by it. Koalas also only eat the eucalyptus leaves they recognize from their local habitat, because they are that stupid. Yes, zoos have to import eucalyptus trees or leaves from their habitats. Do not get me started about their chlamydia infection rates. Mola mola, or ocean sunfish, are even worse. They are huge floating, useless meat bags that just stand there in the ocean. They don't have swim bladders to control their buoyancy, and eat mostly low nutritious stuff, like jellyfish, that happen to swim before their mouth. They are mostly left alone by predators, but often get maimed by more intelligent sea life. So, all other fishes or swimming mammals. Just because. Sometimes they rise up above the water surface and get owned by birds feeding on them. Mola mola hardly notices this, and is probably too stupid to perceive pain. Their evolutionary strategy is fully invested in a useless meat suit, a petty excuse of a nervous system, and spawning one ungodly amount of offspring, furthering their retarded lineage. Story 26. If a scorpion loses or sheds its tail, it dies soon after because it becomes constipated. Their tails do not grow back, and they have their ants on it. Sea cucumbers typically defend themselves two ways: by expelling all their organs, or by making a ton of sticky threads that trap you. A lobster's brain is located in its throat, with its teeth located in its stomach. Its nervous system is located in its abdomen, and its kidneys are located in its head. It also tastes with its feet. Penguins will push others into the water to check for predators, sacrificing flockmates. Since 1996, Tasmanian devils have been observed suffering at increased rates from a rare mouth cancer. This is because they spend so much time fighting and biting each other in the mouth. The babirusa is a species of wild pig that has 4 tusks, 2 in its lower jaw and 2 on the bridge of its nose. They grow constantly. It's common for the tusks on the bridge of the nose to grow so long they eventually impale the animal through the skull, killing it. Story 27. Pandas are just big versions of koalas. As in, they are stupid and eat stuff they don't need for no other reason than it's easier to munch plants than it is to hunt prey. They are also likely only alive today because their cuteness made us take care of them, and it's registered that female pandas will act pregnant in order to get more food. Although they are way smarter than koalas, pandas seem to be really stupid and virtually incapable of taking care of themselves. And I think human intervention is not making them a better species, since they are cared for from the get-go. Story 28. There's a parasite that prefers birds as a host, so they will be excreted into their feces where other organisms, usually snails, will come in contact with the parasite. The parasite takes over the snail's body and hijacks its eyes, somehow making them bulge out and move around. In addition to this, the snail will have an urge to venture out into the open, where the pulsing eyes draw the attention of birds. This is its life cycle. They're called zombie parasites or something.